Hello ladies and gentlemen, MarauderEX here with a video that I was not expecting to do today, but I'm going to do. And I've been collecting thoughts since I saw this information. I just got this information, so it's going to be a little more off the cuff than usual. But I've tried to piece things together but I'm going to be a little scatterbrained, so I apologize on that. So, first and foremost, the Project Dream, the Dreamcast 2 fan campaign to do something, has now officially been canceled. It's done. The website has been taken offline, and the Facebook group, which was also a centralized hub for them, has been deleted. And there's a message posted for these people that logging in to see. I'll say that. The project has been taken offline. This is due to a schism within the team caused by inefficient and amateurish conduct, resulting in members being removed and others leaving the team. In light of such unprofessional behavior and an embarrassing lack of progress, seasoned members of the gaming industry have chosen to distance themselves from the project. I, too, am stepping away from Project Dream. Please note the Twitter account at Project Dream DC is no longer associated with this group. So, yeah, this whole thing just started off on a really bad foot. It started off with a Change.org petition to get Sega to make a new Dreamcast. And that in itself is kind of laughable because no one pays attention to Change.org petitions these days. Like, everyone does them. They've lost any and all meaning, just hands down. Second, the Project Dream organization had to distance themselves from one of the members, because one of the members is the same person that I've had the mispleasure of posting about on several videos, ranting about Sega, because this person is the one who does the patent and trademark copy-paste BS, where sift through 8 or 9 pages of a trademark and says in one very specific line near the bottom that says video game consoles, then that means they have to do video game consoles, and that's their return, and Sega will be the second coming, the glorious return to gaming of yesteryear, and gaming Jesus, and whatever flying spaghetti monster, Cthulhu rising up from the depths, whatever else they're trying to claim Sega is going to do or be, especially returning to the home console industry. They had to distance themselves from him because he presented himself as a member of the group, and did a couple of interviews on a couple of gaming sites as a member of the group, saying a lot of things that were not the group's aim, or not what the group was intending to do, or just fabrications of things, and it caused a lot of issues, and they had to distance themselves from him very quickly because, yeah, his reputation kind of preceded him. So they had to do that, and then there was a lot of discussion about what the project would be itself. Initially, people were saying, oh, it's going to be a Dreamcast 2, it's going to be able to play Dreamcast games, it's going to be able to play Sega digital titles, and then people can develop new games for it as well. So it would be Sega's version of the Ouya, except you'd be able to actually play actual physical Dreamcast games. Well, then that was actually kind of changed to, there was discussion about saying, oh, in the pitch we're going to remove the GD-ROM because frankly, no one's making GD-ROMs anymore. It's technology that you'd have to source to be made, and that would not be cheap, and it's chock full of piracy. Just, that was the problem with the Dreamcast, is the GD-ROM was cracked, and you could pirate games very easily. That's just long and short of it. So, they were talking about removing that, and so it would just be a digital hub for Sega games, which didn't make any sense to me, because if you just want digital Sega games, why not just petition Sega to make their digital titles either more available for multiple platforms? Because, let's face it, if you can put a digital Sega title on, like, PS4, there's really nothing saying that you can't put it on Xbox One and Steam as well. So, I mean, those 3 platforms are very, very similar right now in terms of architecture, so why not just do that? Or why not petition Sega to release more digital titles? Like, actually take the time and effort to see if they can take, say, Sega Saturn games and make digital versions of those. I'd love a digital download version of Shining Force 3. Panzer Dragoon Saga. But anyway, that's... So, the project itself shifted a lot over time in terms of ideas versus realistic expectations. So, yeah, there was a lot of problems with this project, and I do really feel bad for the people in this project, but it's I have a hard time keeping that feeling, because it's also the same type of feeling of someone standing on a train track and just not moving. It's like, oh no, the train will stop for me. No, it's very hard to feel sorry for that person, because you had the option to just step off the track, but you chose to believe that, you know, a 100-ton train would stop for you. Because Sega of today is not the Sega that we grew up with, and a lot of people just don't seem to realize that. And I'm very jaded towards Sega of today, because Sega of today has done a lot of stupid things, and a lot of questionable business decisions, and a lot of things that, you know, I just adamantly dislike. Mostly because, you know, I was the target of some of that. I was one of everyone knows I was one of the channels affected by the Shining series takedowns. And the fact that they have still not fixed that to this day shows Sega's commitment to their fans. The fact that, oh yes, they overstepped a lot of lines, they apologized for it, and they would fix any problems. And it has been 4 years. So, yeah. So, I don't understand what the goal of the project was. I don't understand, because it was, like I said, it was kind of shifting, it was changing. I don't understand why to focus on this project rather than, again, a more reasonable project. Because I don't understand why the need to have another Sega console exists. If you want a digital platform, there are plenty of digital platforms available. Just have Sega spend the time to petition Sega to actually make these games available on those platforms instead of having a dedicated machine to do so. It seems superfluous, really. Because it would be the Sega Oya. It would just be these games downloaded here when you can download them pretty much anywhere else. Why get this? And I've said before, you know, a lot of people get mad at me about it because I am a firm believer in, you know, console exclusivity. Give me a reason to pick up a PS4 versus an Xbox One. I mean, they're very similar in architecture, so give me a reason to pick up one over the other, be it exclusives. A lot of people say exclusives are bad for the consumer, but if you're going to have multiple platforms, I kind of need a reason why to buy one platform over the other. That's my personal take on it. So, if you don't have anything exclusive to this Dreamcast 2, there's no reason for me to buy it over another platform that I can get the same digital titles on. So that's me. I don't know. And then there's the lofty goals of maybe you just have a console that's entirely backwards compatible, plays everything. It's like, that would be expensive. And it would still need all of the various components. You would still need the GD-ROM. You would need some Saturn. Either it would have to be a very powerful little machine to have a Saturn emulator, or it'd have to have Saturn parts. And then you're getting into we're having to source technology. We're having to make parts that haven't been made in over a decade. And that's another thing about this whole thing that I've just never understood. Sega has been out of the console industry for 15 years. They discontinued the Dreamcast in 2001. So that's 15 years from today. They were in the console industry for 16 years, ranging from the Master System to the Dreamcast. I've posted the exact dates on a couple other videos posing this question to people. Sega has been out of the console industry almost as long as they were in it through their entire tenure. And going from the Master System, the Genesis / Mega Drive, the Saturn, and the Dreamcast, those 4 consoles over 16 years, only one of which is really considered a success. That's the Genesis slash Master System, or Mega Drive, excuse me. Because the Master System really didn't take off here in the U.S. The NES really had a stranglehold. Master System did really well in Europe, but the Genesis and Mega Drive did really, really well pretty much everywhere. And it is still a very popular console in a lot of areas that have a lot of, trade embargo issues and things like that. I know, seeing reports, Master System or Mega Drive, keep doing that. The Mega Drive is still very popular in South America. Like, to this day, still very popular in South America. So, like, but the Master System, the Saturn, and the Dreamcast, not really so much. The Saturn did not do well anywhere outside of Japan, and the Dreamcast everywhere just kind of succumbed to the PS2 hype machine. Like, so out of 4 consoles, only one of them is really considered a success, which pains me because I love the Saturn. It's my favorite console, but I will admit it was not a success. It was just my personal favorite, but not commercially a success. So you've had a company that's been out of the game almost as long as they were in the game completely. Why come back now? What can Sega do to distinguish themselves from the other consoles that are already starting to distinguish themselves from each other? We're already on the cusp of a new console generation, and we just entered a new console generation. The Wii U is being phased out. As much as people are going to sit here and say, no, they said the NX is not a successor, there are no Wii U games coming out at all. There are no, like, after Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I think that's it. Oh no, there's the Mario Color Splash that no one seems to care about. So after that, like, they've got nothing. They have no physical titles coming out. So the NX is next. That's what they're going to focus on. And the PS4 and the Xbox One are already talking about. Xbox One, I'm not entirely sure what its hardware revisions are, but I know PS4 is going to have the 4.5 or the Neo or whatever codename it's got now, so that it's more powerful, gearing up for VR. So we're already on the cusp of a new console generation, which Nintendo has been very hush-hush about what their console is going to be able to do. Sony's going for the VR market. What would Sega be able to do to distinguish themselves? They would either have an underpowered console that would just only be their library, that only diehard Sega fans would go after. There would not be much of a market for that. Or they would have to try to they would have to actually try to come back to the console industry, and they'd have to get third-party support, because they're not going to be able to survive on first-party support alone, because look at what Nintendo did with first-party support. I mean, they kept the Wii U going for a little while, but even then, they realized it's not enough. So, I don't... like I said, I don't understand what the goal for this was, or I don't understand the mindset. So, that's me. But I don't know. I really don't. I guess you could say I'm not the target demographic for this, which is weird considering, most of my channel is Saturn titles. So, like, you would think I would be kind of the market for a Sega platform. But I guess I've realized that today's Sega is not the same as the Sega that I grew up with and the Sega that I loved. Because a lot of the people who made the games that I thoroughly enjoyed are no longer at Sega. In fact, they're working on other projects for other things. Like, we got Shenmue 3 coming out on Sony platforms. Sony platforms and PC, that's it. So, I mean, if that's the situation we're in, where these high-profile games that everyone swore up and down would never be on anything other than a Sega platform, it's going to be on everything but a Sega platform, because Sega doesn't have a platform. It kind of shows a company's intent, really. If Sega were that adamant about coming back to the console market in any way, shape, or form, if they were actually going to compete with PS4 and Xbox One, and try to muscle back into that, Shenmue 3 happening for your competition, that's just How do you, I can just keep saying I don't understand, because I don't understand. So I'm going to go before I continue rambling. So let me know your thoughts and opinions about the whole Project Dream thing. I know everyone has their pipe dream of what if Sega were to come back, what kind of console would they want to do, what would we want to focus on. And I've talked about what, my pipe dream of if, Sega made a Shining Force 4, or just my personal, penultimate strategy RPG, like what could be done to make my ideal game. But what are if you have thoughts on this, like, what are your thoughts versus why make a dedicated console versus why not just make IPs, or bring back the IPs that everyone wants, that everyone says would sell a Sega specific console? Why not just make those IPs and make them available for the platforms that are already out? Why? And it's ironic, because I just said I like console exclusives, but if Sega can't do the IPs now, like if we're at a point where people honestly question, well, why doesn't Sega make a new Streets of Rage game? Like, what about having a new console suddenly makes them capable of doing something they haven't been doing for the past 15 years? That's my ultimate question about this. Why is it that Sega would only revive these franchises to try to sell a console? Like, what was preventing them from doing it for the past 15 years? Because it's not building up hype, because 15 years you're forgotten in the industry in a lot of cases. So many companies have come and gone in 15 years that it's hard to keep track. So saying that we're building up hype, that just doesn't make sense to me. Why did Sega not do these IPs when they went third party and have the ability to develop for any platform that they want? And nowadays a lot of these platforms are interchangeable. Why force a new console to try to bring back the IPs? I've never understood why having the new console would magically change Sega's mind to be like, oh, well, now we've got this new console, we have to actually, make games for it, as opposed to making games for the past 15 years. So, I mean, I get that if they did a console, it would have to be, they would need some exclusive content, but I don't understand why people want the new console rather than just wanting the games that Sega could make when they went third party. Like the PS2 and the GameCube era, there were a lot of really good Sega titles coming out on a lot of those platforms. Like, you had Panzer Dragoon Orta, you had Billy Hatcher, you had Sonic Adventure Battle 2. Like, you had a lot of things that were coming out. Skies of Arcadia Legends. Why not make the games when you have all these available platforms? Why? That's my take on it. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now. Let me know your thoughts and opinions and comments in the comment section below. And maybe you guys see something that I don't. I've said that a couple of times before about Sega. Maybe I'm just too old and jaded. I don't know. But let me know in the comment section below. So, and until then, I will see you guys in my next rant video. So, later, everyone.